June rubbed his tired eyes as he walked through the crowded space station market. The smell of strange foods and engine oil filled the air. Bright signs in many languages flashed overhead. He checked his credit balance again. 25,000 credits. It was all he had left in the world. 3 months ago, he had owned a decent cargo ship. 3 months ago, he had regular jobs and regular pay. Then the pirates came. They took everything. June had barely escaped with his life. Last call for the ship auction in Hangar Bay 12. A robotic voice announced over the station speakers. June walked faster. A ship. Any ship. That's what he needed. Without a ship, he was just another broke ex-pilot begging for crew jobs. With a ship, he could be his own boss again. Hangar Bay 12 was packed with people. Some wore expensive spacesuits that marked them as wealthy traders. Others looked as desperate as June felt. He took a spot near the back wall. Next up, lot number 47, said the auctioneer, a tall man with blue skin. Orion-class freighter, 15 years old. Some rust issues. Engine needs work. Starting bid is 20,000 credits. The crowd stayed quiet. No one raised a hand. June studied the ship on the display screen. It looked worse than some rust issues. The hull was patched in at least 6 places, but he recognized the model. Orions were solid ships, built to last. Anyone? 20,000 credits for a working ship. The auctioneer tried again. Still no takers. June raised his hand. We have 20,000. Do I hear 21,000? Silence filled the room. Going once, going twice. Sold. To the human in the back. Just like that, June owned a ship again. He felt lightheaded as he walked to the payment station. 20,000 credits vanished from his account, leaving him with just 5,000. Enough for basic supplies and maybe one small repair. A thin alien with gray skin handed him the ownership papers. Sign here, he said, pointing to a glowing line. This ship is yours. No returns. No guarantees. What's wrong with it? June asked. The seller shifted nervously. Nothing major. Just old. Previous owner needed quick cash. June signed the papers. The deal was done. Bay 17, the seller said quickly. It's in Bay 17. Good luck. Then he hurried away, moving too fast for someone who had just made an honest sale. Bay 17 was at the far end of the station. When June got there, he almost turned around to demand his money back. The ship looked even worse in person. The name Lucky Star was barely visible on the dirty hull. Some luck, June mumbled as he pressed his thumb to the entry panel. To his surprise, the door hissed open right away. Inside, the ship smelled stale. Dust covered every surface, but as June walked through the narrow corridors, he began to feel better. The ship was bigger than it looked from outside. The cargo hold could fit decent shipments. The cockpit had been upgraded with newer controls. "Hello," June called out, just to hear how sound traveled in his new home. To his shock, a soft voice answered. "Hello, Captain. I am Dury, the ship's artificial intelligence system." June jumped. The seller didn't mention an I. "I am not listed in the ship's official specs," Dury said. "The previous captain preferred it that way." "Why?" "For various legal reasons, Captain. Would you like me to run a system diagnostic?" June sat in the pilot's chair. It adjusted to his body automatically. "Nice. Yes, run a full diagnostic." "And Dury, what else did the previous captain hide about this ship?" There was a pause before the AI answered. "I am not authorized to share that information with anyone but the ship's captain." "I am the captain now," June said, holding up his ownership papers. Another pause. Verification complete. "Captain June, there are several unauthorized modifications to this vessel, and there is something in the hidden storage compartment below Deck C that you should see immediately." June's heart sank. He had spent his last credits on this ship. If it was hiding something illegal, he could lose everything. Again. "Show me," he said. "Follow the floor lights, Captain." Dury said as blue lights lit up along the floor. June walked carefully through the dim corridors. His hand rested on the small stun gun at his hip, the only weapon he could afford after the pirates took everything. The blue lights led him down a narrow stairway to the lowest deck. "Here, Captain. Press the panel to your right." June saw nothing but a blank wall. He pressed it anyway. A soft click. Then a section of the wall slid open. Cool air rushed out. "What is this?" June asked, peering into the hidden room. A stasis chamber, not on the official ship plans. Inside, June saw 3 large metal pods with frosted glass tops. Each pod had blinking lights and small screens showing vital signs. Through the frosted glass, he could make out shapes that looked like bodies. "Dury, what am I looking at?" June's voice shook. 3 passengers. The previous captain was paid to transport them, but abandoned them when authorities began asking questions. June moved closer to the first pod. He wiped the frost from the glass and jumped back in surprise. Inside was a woman, but not a human woman. Her skin had a soft purple glow. Her face was beautiful but alien, with high cheekbones and slightly pointed ears. "Is she alive?" "Yes, Captain. All 3 are in stable condition. They have been in stasis for 42 standard days." June checked the other pods. In the second was another female figure, smaller than the first, with 4 arms folded across her chest. Her skin was pale blue. The third pod held a being with human-like features, but with what looked like colorful feathers instead of hair. "Who are they? What are they?" June asked. "The tall one is Era, from the Lumina system. The small one with 4 arms is Minji, from Quadra. The third is Nari, from the Avion worlds." June had heard of these places. They were all conquered by the hegemony in the last few years. The hegemony was a powerful empire that took over planets and used the people as workers or soldiers. Why were they on this ship? They are refugees. The previous captain was taking them to the free colonies. He was paid half in advance. When station security started scanning ships more carefully, he took the money and left them here. June ran a hand through his hair. "So I bought a ship with 3 illegal aliens on board. I could be arrested just for having them." "Correct, Captain. Can we wake them up?" "Yes, but I should warn you." Before Dury could finish, alarms started to sound. "Warning, Stasis Pod 1 is initiating wake-up sequence." "I didn't touch anything," June said. The cycle was already scheduled. The previous captain said it before he left. The pod hissed open. The purple-skinned woman, Aura, opened her eyes. They were completely silver, with no pupils. She sat up suddenly, looking around in panic. She spoke, but June couldn't understand the words. "Dury, can you translate?" "Partially, Captain. She is asking where she is, and who you are." June tried to look calm. "Tell her I'm June, the new owner of this ship. Ask her if she's okay." Dury made a series of musical sounds. Era listened, then replied. "She says she is well enough. She wants to know what happened to Captain Malk, the previous owner. Tell her he sold the ship and left." When Dury translated this, Era's face darkened. She spoke again, her voice angry. "She says Malk was paid to take them to safety. They are being hunted by the hegemony." The second pod began to open. The blue woman with 4 arms, Minji, blinked her large black eyes as she woke. June felt a headache coming on. "Great, just great. I spend my last credits on a rust bucket, and I get 3 fugitive aliens as a bonus." The third pod started its wake-up cycle. Soon all 3 aliens were sitting up, looking at June with a mixture of fear, confusion, and hope. Nari, the one with feather hair, spoke directly to June. Her words sounded like bird song. "She says they can pay you." Dury translated, "If you take them to the free colonies." "With what?" "I'm broke, and you 3 don't look rich either," June replied. Era reached into a small pocket in her stasis suit and pulled out a glowing crystal the size of June's thumb. She says this is worth 20 ships like yours. June stared at the crystal. If that was true, his luck had just changed. If he could keep these 3 alive long enough to collect. June studied the glowing crystal in his hand. If Era was telling the truth, this little rock could change his life. He could buy a real ship, not this rusted junk. Dury, how soon can we leave the station? He asked. Engines are at 68% capacity, Captain. We can depart in 20 minutes. June nodded. Start the pre-flight checks. We're leaving. The 3 aliens watched him carefully. Nari, the one with feather hair, spoke again. Her bird-like sounds were pretty, but June couldn't understand a word. She is asking where you plan to take them, Dury translated. Good question. June hadn't thought that far ahead. Where are these free colonies? Era spoke, and Dury translated. The nearest safe place is Haven Station. In the Outer Rim. It's a 5-day journey. 5 days with 3 aliens who could barely talk to him. And if they were caught, he'd spend years in a hegemony prison. But that crystal. Fine. Haven Station it is. June pointed to the door. You 3 should come up to the main deck. It will be safer. As they walked up to the bridge, June noticed how the aliens moved. Era was tall and graceful. Minji used all 4 arms to steady herself, touching the walls as she walked. Nari moved with quick, bird-like steps. On the bridge, June took the pilot's seat. Everyone find a place to sit. Takeoff might be rough. June guided the ship out of the docking bay. The old engines groaned but worked better than he expected. Soon, they were clear of the station and headed for open space. Setting course for Haven Station, Dury announced. Just as June was about to engage the main engines, warning lights flashed on the control panel. What now? June asked. Incoming transmission, Dury said, from station security. June felt sweat on his forehead. Had they been discovered already? Put it through, audio only. A harsh voice filled the bridge. Vessel Lucky Star, return to dock immediately for inspection. This is not a request. June muted the comm. Dury, what's happening? Station scanners have detected our passengers. Their species are on the hegemony watch list. Eris stood up and pointed out the window. A sleek black ship was leaving the station, moving fast toward them. Hegemony hunter ship. Dury translated Era's words. They found us. June's hands flew over the controls. Hold on to something. He pushed the engines to full power. The ship lurched forward, shaking violently. The black ship followed, gaining quickly. They're faster than us, June said. We need somewhere to hide. He checked the star chart. There's an asteroid field ahead. We can lose them there. Minji said something, pointing at the engine display with one of her 4 hands. She says the power couplings won't hold at this speed. Dury translated. Tell her they just have to hold for 5 more minutes. The asteroid field came into view, a massive cloud of rocks spinning slowly in space. June aimed straight for it. The hunter ship fired a warning shot that flashed past their hull. They're ordering us to stop, Dury said. Not happening. June pushed the stick forward, diving into the asteroid field. Rocks the size of buildings floated around them. June weaved through them, his years of piloting experience guiding his hands. The hunter ship followed, but more carefully. Suddenly, the engine alarms blared. Power coupling failure in engine 2, Dury announced. The ship began to drift toward a large asteroid. They would crash in seconds. Minji jumped from her seat and ran to the back of the bridge. She pulled open a panel that June didn't even know was there. Her 4 hands moved in a blur, connecting wires and adjusting settings. The engine roared back to life just as they were about to hit the asteroid. June pulled up hard, clearing it by inches. Behind them, the hunter ship wasn't so lucky. It clipped the asteroid and spun out of control. We lost them, June said, breathing hard. Era placed a hand on his shoulder. "Through Duri," she said. "You fly well, human." June watched as the hunter ship grew smaller behind them. "We're not safe yet. They'll send more ships." Neri spoke, her feathers rising and falling as she talked. "She says we should change course." Duri translated. "The hegemony will be watching all routes to Haven Station now." June nodded. "Where to then?" Era pointed to a spot on the star chart. "A small trading outpost." "We need supplies anyway," June said. "New course, Duri." As the ship turned, June looked at his 3 passengers. What had he gotten himself into? And why was the hegemony so determined to catch these 3? 2 days passed as the Lucky Star traveled toward the trading outpost. June spent most of his time in the pilot's seat, watching for signs of hegemony ships. The rest of his time he spent trying to fix the many problems with his new ship. He wasn't alone in the repairs. Minji, the 4-armed alien, turned out to be an amazing engineer. Her small blue hands could reach places June couldn't, and she seemed to understand machines in a way that went beyond training. "How is she doing that?" June asked Duri as he watched Minji repair a coolant line without any tools. "Her species has a natural ability to sense electrical currents and energy flows." Duri translated as Minji spoke. "She says she can feel what's wrong with the ship." During meals in the small galley, they tried to learn more about each other. The ship's food supplies were basic, protein packs and dried fruit, but they all shared what they had. "Ask them why the hegemony is hunting them," June said to Duri one evening, as they all sat around the table. Era answered first. Her silver eyes seemed to glow in the dim light of the ship. "She says they each have information that could hurt the hegemony," Duri translated. Era was a military strategist before her world was conquered. She knows hegemony battle plans. Minji spoke next, her 4 hands moving as she talked. Minji worked in a hegemony weapons lab. She knows how their new planet killer weapon works, and how to stop it. Nari's turn came last. Her feathers changed color as she spoke, shifting from blue to gold. Nari was a diplomat. She has proof that the hegemony broke peace treaties with 17 worlds before attacking them. She stole data files that could turn many neutral systems against the hegemony. June whistled. "No wonder they want you 3 so badly." That night, as the others slept, June found Ara on the bridge, looking at the stars. She spoke, and Duri translated. "She says humans are strange to her. Your world is not conquered, yet you help those who are hunted." "Not all humans would help," June replied. "Many would turn you in for a reward." She asks why you didn't. June thought about it. "I guess I don't like bullies. The hegemony takes what it wants and hurts anyone who gets in the way. They're just big bullies with ships and guns." Era smiled when Duri translated this. She pointed to June, then to herself, then made a fist. She says, "Then we fight together." The next morning, June found Nari trying to cook human food in the galley. The results were interesting. "What is this supposed to be?" he asked, poking at the purple mush on his plate. "She says it's eggs and protein mix." Duri translated. "She's trying to learn your food customs." June took a brave bite. It wasn't bad, just strange. "Tell her thank you." Nari's feathers turned pink, which June was learning meant she was happy. Later that day, Minji taught June some words in her language. Her people spoke by making clicking sounds with their tongues, and June could only make the simplest sounds. She found his attempts funny, and soon they were both laughing. "Ask her how she learned to fix ships," June said to Duri. Minji's answer surprised him. "She says her people are born knowing how things work. They can feel the energy in machines, but she had to learn human machines, which are very different." "Different how?" "She says human machines are simple but creative. You solve problems in ways her people would never think of." That evening, June found himself enjoying their company. These aliens were so different from humans, but they had their own kind of beauty, their own skills, and ways of seeing the world. Era approached him with a small device in her hand. Through Duri, she explained it was a language helper. It would let them talk without Duri's constant translation. It links to your mind. Duri translated. You will hear their words in your language. Jun hesitated. Is it safe? Era nodded and placed it against her own temple first to show him. Then she offered it to Jun. He took a deep breath and placed it against his head. There was a brief flash of pain, then clarity. Can you understand me now? Era asked, and Jun heard her words in perfect English. Yes, he said, amazed. This is much better. Good, Era said with a smile. Because we are about to reach the trading outpost, and there are things you need to know before we land. This outpost is not safe, Era said as they gathered on the bridge. The hegemony has spies everywhere. Jun looked at the small space station growing larger on the view screen. It was shaped like a wheel with lights blinking along its edges. We need supplies, Jun said. Fuel, food, and parts to fix the ship. We can't make it to Haven without stopping. Nari's feathers shifted to a worried yellow color. Then we must be careful. Only Jun should leave the ship. Aliens like us will be noticed. I have a contact here, Jun said. Han is an old friend. He runs a supply shop and never asks questions. If anyone can help us, it's him. Minji clicked her fingers nervously. What if he has changed? What if money makes him talk? It was a fair question. Jun hadn't seen Han in over 2 years. People change, especially when the hegemony offers rewards. I'll be careful, Jun promised. I'll test him before I say anything about you three. The Lucky Star docked at the outpost an hour later. Jun made sure the aliens were hidden in the secret room where he had found them. Then he left to find Han. The outpost was busy with traders and travelers from many worlds. Jun kept his head down and walked quickly to Han's shop. The sign above the door still read Han's Hardware in 5 different languages. Inside, the shop was cramped with parts and supplies for all kinds of ships. Han stood behind the counter, older than Jun remembered, but with the same friendly smile. Jun, you old space dog, Han called out. I heard you lost your ship. Bad luck. They clasped hands, and Jun felt a wave of relief. Han seemed the same as always. Got a new one, Jun said. Well, new is not the right word. It's an old rust bucket that needs work. Han laughed. Sounds like you need parts. What's on your list? Jun handed over a list of the most important repairs. Han nodded as he read it. I have most of this. It will cost you, though. I can pay, Jun said, thinking of Era's crystal. He wouldn't show it yet, but he could trade a small piece if needed. As Han gathered the parts, he asked casual questions. Where had Jun been? Where was he headed? Just friendly talk, but Jun was careful with his answers. Heard about those escaped aliens? Han asked suddenly. The hegemony is offering 1,000,000 credits for them. 3 females who stole some important data. Jun's heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. No, been out of touch lately. Han leaned closer. Word is they left Starbase 7 on a small cargo ship. The hegemony has patrols everywhere looking for them. Good luck to those aliens, Jun said, counting out credits for the smaller parts. I hope they get away. Han smiled, but something in his eyes had changed. You always did root for the underdog, Jun. They finished the transaction, and Han helped carry the supplies to Jun's ship. At the airlock, Han paused. One more thing, he said quietly. Be careful out there. The hegemony is stopping ships at random. If I were hiding something, or someone, I wouldn't stay here long. Was it a warning or a threat? Jun couldn't tell. Thanks for the advice. As soon as Han left, Jun rushed to the bridge. Duri scanned for hegemony signals. 3 hegemony ships just entered the outpost control zone, Duri reported. They are requesting docking clearance. Jun ran to free the aliens from their hiding place. We need to leave now. Back on the bridge, alarms were flashing. Outpost security has locked our docking clamps. Dury announced. We cannot depart. Someone told them we're here, Jun said. Han, or someone watching his shop. Neri stepped forward. I can help. I was a diplomat, remember. Let me talk to outpost control. How? They won't listen to. Trust me, she said. Her feathers turned a deep blue as she took the communication controls. What happened next amazed Jun. Neri's voice changed completely. She sounded like an angry hegemony official, demanding that the Lucky Star be released immediately for special inspection duty. The outpost controller stammered apologies, and the docking clamps released. Go now, Neri urged. Jun didn't need to be told twice. He fired the engines and the Lucky Star shot away from the outpost. But they weren't fast enough. A hegemony patrol ship appeared directly in their path, weapons ready. Hold on, Jun yelled, pushing the engines beyond their limits. The ship screamed in protest as Jun aimed for a narrow gap between the patrol ship and a passing freighter. They were almost clear when the patrol ship fired. The hegemony ship's laser blast hit the Lucky Star's left engine. The ship shook violently, throwing everyone to the floor. Engine 3 is down, Dury announced as red warning lights filled the bridge. Jun fought with the controls. We need somewhere to hide. Anywhere. Minji rushed to the navigation console, her forehands flying over the controls. She pointed to a planet on the screen. There, she said, no hegemony outposts. Atmosphere we can breathe. It's our only chance, Jun agreed. He turned the damaged ship toward the planet. The hegemony patrol fired again, but Jun was ready this time. He rolled the ship, and the blast missed them by inches. Can we make it to the surface? Era asked, holding onto a chair as the ship shook. If we don't burn up first, Jun said grimly. The Lucky Star entered the planet's atmosphere, trailing smoke from the damaged engine. The ship rattled and creaked as heat built up around the hull. Altitude dropping too fast, Dury warned. Impact in 30 seconds. Jun pulled back on the controls with all his strength. Come on, you piece of junk. Hold together. At the last moment, the ship leveled out enough for a rough landing. They skidded across a grassy plain, throwing up dirt and rocks before coming to a stop at the edge of a forest. For a moment, everyone was silent, just breathing. Is everyone okay? Jun asked finally. They were bruised but alive. Minji was already checking the damage reports on a screen. The ship needs many repairs, she said. Days of work, maybe weeks. Jun looked out the view screen at the planet. It looked peaceful enough. Blue sky, green grass, trees that looked like Earth trees except for their purple leaves. Dury, any information about this place? Limited data, Captain. Planet designated XB7, never fully explored. No known settlements. Era was looking at her handheld scanner. We should check outside. Make sure it's safe. They opened the airlock cautiously. The air smelled fresh with a hint of sweetness. Jun stepped out first, then motioned for the others to follow. Look! Nari pointed to something in the distance. Those aren't natural. About a kilometer away, strange structures rose from the ground. They were tall and thin, made of a shiny metal that reflected the sunlight. Let's check it out, Jun said. Maybe we can find something to help repair the ship. As they walked toward the structures, Jun noticed how quiet the planet was. No birds, no insects, just the sound of wind in the purple leaves. Up close, the structures were even more impressive. They were towers, at least 50 meters tall, arranged in a perfect circle. In the center was a flat building with no windows. These are too perfect to be natural, Era said, running her hand along one tower. Someone built this. Minji's eyes widened. These are buildings of the Forerunners. Who? Jun asked. Ancient race, Nari explained. They lived long ago, spread life through the galaxy, then disappeared. Only stories remain. Jun approached the central building. There was a door, but no handle or control panel. As he got closer, The door suddenly slid open. "It reacts to our presence," Era said. Inside, the building was one large room filled with strange machines. Lights came on as they entered, illuminating control panels and screens covered in symbols. "Can anyone read this?" June asked. Era stepped forward, her silver eyes wide. "These are military symbols, battle plans, weapon designs." Minji was examining one of the machines. "This technology, it's similar to our own, but more advanced." Nari touched a screen, and it came to life, showing a star map. "These are hegemony worlds, before they were hegemony." "What does that mean?" Jun asked. "It means the Forerunners fought the same enemy," Era said. "The ones who became the hegemony." A soft humming filled the room. One of the largest machines in the center began to glow with blue light. "What did you touch?" Jun asked nervously. "Nothing," Minji said. "It activated on its own." The blue light grew brighter, then shot out in 3 beams. Each beam touched one of the aliens: Era, Minji, and Nari. They froze in place, eyes wide. "What's happening?" Jun rushed toward them, but another beam appeared, this one red, pointing at him. A loud mechanical voice filled the room, speaking a language Jun didn't understand. Then pain shot through his head as the red beam intensified. "Unauthorized species detected," the voice said, now in English. "Defense protocols activated." The red beam grew brighter. Jun felt like his skin was burning. Small metal orbs rose from the floor, circling him. Their surfaces opened to reveal weapons. "Intruder will be eliminated," the mechanical voice said. "No," Era shouted. She tried to move toward Jun, but the blue beam held her in place. "He is with us. He is helping us." "Unauthorized species. Potential hegemony agent," the voice replied. The orbs moved closer to Jun. He could feel heat coming from their weapons. "I'm not with the hegemony," Jun shouted. "I'm human, from Earth. We've never even met the hegemony. Unknown species classification. Proceeding with elimination." Minji called out, her voice strained against the blue beam. "Jun." The control panel. The red symbol. Jun saw it, a glowing red circle on a nearby panel. But 3 orbs blocked his path. If he moved, they would fire. "Think, Jun. Think." The aliens couldn't help him. Whatever the blue beams were doing, they kept Era, Minji, and Nari frozen in place. He was on his own. Jun looked around the room. The walls were smooth metal. The ceiling was high with hanging lights. The floor had small vents every few meters. Air vents, or maybe for cleaning. Jun slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal tool he used for ship repairs. He tossed it toward one of the vents. The orbs immediately fired at the movement. Their weapons made a high-pitched sound, and the tool melted into a puddle of liquid metal. While they were distracted, Jun dove toward another vent and yanked off its cover. A burst of cool air hit his face. The vent was big enough for him to fit into. Barely. The orbs turned back to him and fired again. Jun rolled into the vent just in time. Laser blasts hit the floor where he had been seconds before. Now he was in a narrow tunnel. He could hear the orbs buzzing outside, unable to follow him into the small space. "Smart," the mechanical voice said, sounding almost impressed. But futile. Jun began crawling through the tunnel. He had no idea where it led, but anywhere was better than facing those weapons. The tunnel branched in several directions. Jun chose paths that seemed to circle back toward the main room. Finally, he found another vent that opened into the room from the other side. Through the slats, he could see the control panel with the red symbol. It was about 5 meters away, with 2 orbs hovering nearby. He needed a distraction. Jun searched his pockets again and found a small light he used for ship inspections. He turned it on and tossed it down a side tunnel. The light bounced and rolled, creating moving shadows. The orbs detected the movement and followed the light, firing as they went. Now was his chance. June kicked open the vent and sprinted toward the control panel. The orbs turned back toward him, but he was already there. He slammed his hand down on the red symbol. Everything stopped. The red beam vanished. The orbs dropped to the floor, powerless. The blue beams holding the aliens disappeared too. System override accepted. The mechanical voice said, now sounding gentler. Species analysis complete. Human. Earth origin. Not allied with hegemony. Interesting. Era, Minji, and Neri rushed to June's side. Are you okay? Neri asked, her feathers pale with worry. I'm fine, June said, though his skin still tingled from the red beam. Era looked at him with new respect. How did you know to use the vents? I didn't, June admitted. I just looked for a way out. When you can't win a fight, change the rules. The main screen in the room lit up, showing images of planets, ships, and weapons. Information access granted to human and authorized species, the voice announced. Full database available. Minji's eyes widened as she looked at the screen. This is it. This is what we need. The Forerunners found a weakness in hegemony technology. A weakness? June asked. All hegemony ships and weapons used the same power source, Minji explained. The Forerunners discovered a frequency that can disrupt it. Era pointed to another part of the screen. Battle plans. Defense strategies. Everything we need to fight back. Neri was studying a different display. And proof of their crimes. Records of their betrayals from the beginning. The mechanical voice spoke again. Forerunner Defense Protocol updated. Human species classification. Ally. Reason. Creative problem solving. Adaptable thinking. Unpredictable tactics. June couldn't help but smile. So I passed the test. Indeed, the voice replied. Hegemony forces are strategic but rigid. You are different. This may be the advantage needed for victory. We need to get this information to the Resistance, Era said as they worked to download the Forerunner data. It could change everything. The four of them had spent hours in the ancient building, gathering all the information they could. The Forerunner computer system had much to share. Maps, plans, and secrets about the hegemony that no one else knew. Will it all fit? June asked, looking at the small data drives Minji was using. Yes, she said, her four hands working quickly. The Forerunner storage system is very advanced, small but powerful. Neri was at another console, talking with the Forerunner computer voice. There is a resistance base we can reach. It's hidden in the Orion Nebula. 4 days from here. June frowned. 4 days? Our ship is damaged. Even with Minji's skills, we need parts we don't have. The computer voice spoke. Forerunner assistance protocols activated. Ship repair resources available. A section of the floor opened up, revealing a storage area filled with strange metal parts and tools. These look like ship components, June said, picking up a piece. Minji examined the parts with wide eyes. Better than anything I've seen. These will not just fix our ship, they will make it stronger and faster. They worked through the day and night to repair the Lucky Star. The Forerunner parts fitted perfectly, as if they were made for their ship. With Minji's guidance and June's help, they replaced the damaged engine and added new systems. The ship is ready, Minji announced finally. Engine power is 3 times what it was before. As they prepared to leave, the computer voice spoke one last time. Warning. Hegemony scout ship approaching planet. Estimated arrival. 2 hours. We need to go now, June said. Everyone aboard. They rushed back to the Lucky Star. The ship looked the same from the outside, but inside, new lights and controls glowed with soft blue light. This feels different, June said as he took the pilot's seat. The controls responded to his lightest touch. They took off smoothly, the new engines humming with power. June guided the ship up through the atmosphere just as a hegemony scout ship appeared on their scanners. They've spotted us, Era said, watching the scanner. They're changing course to intercept. Let them try, Jones said with a smile. He pushed the engines harder. The Lucky Star shot forward with incredible speed. The stars blurred around them. The hegemony ship grew smaller on their screens, unable to keep up. We're leaving them behind, Neri said, her feathers bright with excitement. Setting course for the Orion Nebula, Jones said. Everyone hold on. The journey to the Resistance base took only 2 days with their improved ship. The Orion Nebula was beautiful, a cloud of purple and blue gas that hid the base from scanners. When they approached, 6 small fighter ships surrounded them. Unidentified vessel, state your business, a stern voice said over the comm. Era stepped forward. I am Era of Lumina. I travel with Minji of Quadra and Neri of Avion. We bring vital information from the Forerunners about hegemony weaknesses. There was a long pause before the voice replied. Approach Docking Bay 3. Slowly. The Resistance base was hidden inside a large asteroid. As they docked, Jum could see dozens of ships of all sizes. Armed guards met them at the airlock. They looked at Jum with suspicion. Who is this? Asked a tall, green-skinned commander. Humans are unknown to us. He is June of Earth, Era said firmly. Without him, we would not be here. Without him, we would not have this information. The commander still looked doubtful. The council will decide. Bring them all. They were led through corridors filled with aliens of many species. Some looked like Era, Minji, and Neri. Others were completely different. All had the same determined look in their eyes. People fighting for freedom. The council chamber was a large room with 7 leaders sitting at a curved table. They listened as Era, Minji, and Neri explained everything that had happened. When it was Jum's turn to speak, he kept it simple. I'm just a pilot who bought a rusty ship, he said. But I've seen what the hegemony does. I want to help stop them. One of the council members, an elderly being with glowing skin, leaned forward. According to our oldest stories, we have been waiting for a species that thinks differently. A species that can see paths others cannot. Perhaps humans are this species. The head of the council spoke. We propose an alliance with Earth. Will you help us make this happen, June of Earth? June looked at Ara, Minji, and Neri, the 3 passengers who had changed his life. Then he nodded. Yes, it's time Earth joined this fight. 2 weeks later, the Lucky Star approached Earth. The blue planet grew larger in their view screen. June felt a strange mix of pride and worry as he showed his home to his 3 alien companions. It's beautiful, Era said, her silver eyes wide. So much water. Different from our worlds, Minji agreed. All 4 hands busy checking ship systems. And your people don't know about aliens yet. No, Jun said. This will be Earth's first contact with alien life. I hope they don't shoot us down before we can explain. Neri's feathers shifted to a thoughtful blue. We should send a message first. I can help you write it. Earth authorities were understandably suspicious when they received Jun's message. 3 security ships quickly surrounded the Lucky Star as they entered Earth orbit. Unidentified vessel. A stern voice said over the comm. Hold your position. Any movement will be considered hostile. Jun opened a video channel. The Earth officer's eyes widened when he saw Era, Minji, and Neri standing behind Jun. My name is Jun, he said calmly. I'm human, from Earth. These are my friends from other worlds. We come with important information and a proposal from the Free Worlds Alliance. What followed was a long day of explanations and questions. Earth's leaders were shocked to learn about the hegemony, the resistance, and the war happening beyond their solar system. They were even more surprised to learn that humans might be key to winning this war. Your ways of thinking are unique, Era explained to a room full of Earth officials. You solve problems in ways no other species considers. The Forerunner's prediction mentioned a species that combines creativity and determination. Minji added, We believe that's humanity. Nari presented the data they had gathered. The hegemony is powerful, but not invincible. With Earth's help, we can stop them before they reach your world. The Earth leaders asked for time to consider. It was a lot to take in. First contact with aliens, news of a galactic war, and an invitation to join an alliance all at once. While they waited for Earth's answer, Jun showed his friends around his home planet. They wore special cloaks that made them look human to avoid causing panic. "Your food is amazing," Minji said as she tried ice cream for the first time. All four of her hands held different flavors. "Your music is so strange but beautiful," Nari added, her feathers moving in time with a street performer's guitar. Era was more serious. "Your weapons are primitive, but your battle tactics are innovative. You could teach our military new ways to fight." 3 days later, Earth gave its answer. They would join the alliance. They would send scientists to study the Forerunner technology and soldiers to train with the resistance fighters. "And they want you to be the ambassador, June," said the Earth official who brought the news. "You'll be the bridge between our world and theirs." June hadn't expected that. "I'm just a cargo pilot. I bought a rusty ship and got lucky." Era placed a hand on his shoulder. "No, you made brave choices. You helped us when others would have turned us in. You saved us many times. And you solved the Forerunner test when we couldn't," Minji reminded him. Nari smiled. Sometimes the best diplomats are those who never plan to be one. Standing on the observation deck of the Earth space station, June looked at his ship. The Lucky Star didn't look rusty anymore. With the Forerunner upgrades, it gleamed like new. Inside were systems more advanced than anything humans had built. "What do you think?" Era asked, standing beside him. "Will you accept the role?" June thought about his life before, struggling to make ends meet, flying cargo runs alone. Then he looked at his 3 alien friends, now his closest companions. "Yes," he said, "but only if you 3 stay as my advisors. We started this together. We should finish it together." Minji's 4 hands clapped in excitement. The adventures of the Lucky Star continue. Nari's feathers turned bright gold with joy. Earth joining the alliance gives us real hope of defeating the hegemony. Era smiled. "And to think, it all started because you bought a rusty ship with 3 unexpected passengers." June laughed. "Best purchase I ever made." As the sun rose over Earth, the 4 friends stood together, watching the light spread across the planet. A new day for Earth, a new hope for the galaxy. And it all began with a desperate purchase at a space station auction. The end.